So there are plenty of skeptics on both sides of the aisle. You just heard the senator there, for example, talk about some questions there. Today, RFK Jr. faced questions about his stance on vaccines, his past writings, and whether he'd stand up against President Trump.
Did you say that it targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that.
I'll take that as a yes.
Joining me now, Marc Short. He was the first director of legislative affairs in the first Trump administration, former chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence as well. Marc's leading a group of conservatives pushing against the RFK Jr. nomination. Nice to have you in.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks for being with us as always. So I'm looking at favorability ratings. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., last poll, he was at +9. The Hill DDHQ average, he was at 48% in this country, +6. There's millions, tens of millions of Americans who view him favorably. As a conservative, why are you taking the other side?
Well, I think that RFK has tapped into something with the MAHA movement, and that was a contributor to Donald Trump's victory. And so he has tapped into something that is politically viable for Trump and helpful. Having said that, Blake, from a pro-life perspective, this is a man who his whole life, including during his campaign last year, was articulating a position in favor of abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. Here's a man who has advocated elimination of all fossil fuels in the United States. He has called the NRA a terrorist organization. Here's a man who has said that climate deniers should basically be considered traitors. He has said that meat producers in the United States are a bigger threat than Osama bin Laden.
So
he is no way a conservative in any fashion.
What about in this country, though, Marc? There are folks, look, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a Democratic nominee for president. Tulsi Gabbard, who comes up tomorrow, Democratic nominee for president. There's many in this country who say, I'm sick of the parties. I'm sick of the extreme left, sick of the extreme right. Let's get some folks together.
Sure.
Could you give President Trump a little bit of credit for doing just that with these two selections?
Not with these two selections. I think President Trump has done that himself. I think he's somebody who is not really ideological. And so there are people on both sides who find pieces of his agenda they like. Robert F. Kennedy is not some sort of moderate in the middle. Robert F. Kennedy has been somebody who has championed the far left causes his entire career. And I think the fact that his nomination, I think, will likely survive on the backs of Republicans, the reflection that Donald Trump has triumphed over Senate Republicans entirely at this point.
You mentioned the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. One of the last things the FDA did in the Biden administration was get rid of Red 3. An artificial diet is something that RFK Jr. has talked about here as part of his hearing today.
I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, or Diet Coke, which my boss loves, and you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
Is he on to something there?
Sure he is. I mean, I agree with that. I think the concern for a lot of Republicans is a nanny state. And I think that it's good to inform the American people of what they're eating, but you don't want the government telling them what they can and can't eat. And so that testimony, though, is different from positions Kennedy has had before, where he's advocated a much stronger government involvement, dictating what should be not allowed for Americans to consume. And so if that's where he sticks to, sure, that's great. I think there's a lot of us have a concern about a nanny state in the same way that Democrats have tried to tell Americans what they're allowed to eat and not allowed to eat.
I mentioned you were the director of legislative affairs. The English translation there is you were the line between the Hill and the White House for Donald Trump at the start of his administration. It's my way of saying you got a pretty good sense of what's going on in that building there. I found it interesting that Senator Johnson there basically said that there's still some questions on your and his side of the aisle with RFK Jr. Do you think he gets the minimum 50 with J.D. Vance to break the tie in that case?
My suspicion is that his vote looks pretty similar to Hegseth's, yes, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. So you think he gets there?
You know, I'm hopeful that there are more Republicans who will oppose this because I think this is counter to what Republicans have stood for decades. But I think at this point, the odds are that he gets the 50.
Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.